I hope they play Moonlight Sonata. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to Season 2, Episodes 7? 8? Of Dan to Dan. I think it's Episode 7, but I'm not 100% on that. Because the problem is, I've been talking about this all season, it lists the episode as like Episode 20, as if like seasons 1 and 2 were the same season and just two separate cores, and that's not how it works. Okay, it's episode 8, I just checked. But yeah, I really hate that, because it's like then I would have to go and like change the video title, and when I'm downloading these I typically don't think of that. I'm trying to like, you know, download them to get to reacting to them. So sorry for the yawn. Shouldn't really be that tired right now. I had a good sleep. Anyway. So yeah. Dan to Dan, last we left off, we have Ira, Turbo Granny, and Okarune going into the school at night. Turbo Granny is like kind of training Okarune, and they're brought to the music room to talk about like the rhythm of how they fight. Turbo Granny's kind of giving this little lesson about how Okarune's rhythm is slower than even Ira's in terms of combat. And so that to get stronger, he needs to be able to like get a better combat rhythm. And while they're talking about this, suddenly the ghosts of seemingly different legendary music composers pop up out of nowhere, and it's like, okay, sure, why not? And it kind of makes me wonder, is like, is this the reason we've had like the classical music playing during like these epic scenes and all? Like, is that why? Is this like tying into that? I don't know. But I'm excited to see how this goes, because we have an interesting trio here. Only two of them can really fight at the moment. And like I feel like there's still quite a bit we have to really work into. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes on with them while the others aren't here at the moment. Yeah, let's just get into this and see what we have in store. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Yeah, this was really fun. This was a really fun episode. I've always tended to be a casual enjoyer of classic music, so getting to like have this entire fight be Symphony number 9 is really fun. No Moonlight Sonata, unfortunately. That's my favorite piece of classical music, and honestly, one of my favorite pieces of music in general. But it was still really fun. I liked the visuals. I liked just the kind of creativity they went along with it. That Ira was instrumental just as much as Okarune was. But that Okarun did learn exactly what Turbo Granny was trying to teach him here about rhythm. And he learned it through more the Hayashi band and their music than anything. Because apparently we find out Okarun doesn't really listen to music. That's fascinating. Like I said in the reaction, it's like I've known people who are like that, but I've never understood it because it's like music is so fun. And it's like whether you're listening to it in the car or while you're like studying or something. I sometimes will put on Spotify while I'm editing thumbnails. Especially when I'm like editing a lot of thumbnails and stuff for when I put up stuff on the gaming channel every week. Because usually on the weekends every week I put up everything for the upcoming week at once on the gaming channel. Makes it just a lot easier. So I'm usually doing a bunch of editing like straight in a row there, and so I'll put on some music to listen to. And I just like music in general. Sometimes I'll just listen to music for the hell of it. I'll just put on some music on YouTube or whatnot and just vibe to it for a little bit. So it's wild to me that like there are people out there in real life too who just don't really listen to much music. I don't get it. But to each their own. I mean, if people aren't like super into just listening to music, I mean, I'm not gonna say they're wrong for that. But yeah, so this episode ends off on a cliffhanger, which I both love and hate cliffhangers. I've talked about this in the past, but it's like cliffhangers are so actively good for retention rates for shows, and they allow a show to, exist longer, basically. And this goes into an entire argument, entire like discussion about how a lot of shows nowadays have terrible retention rates because of the entire binge model bullshit. Um, and this kind of like showcases why. I'm not going to get into an entire thing about that because I very much could. But the gist is that a show, in my eyes, is only as good as how good its retention rate is. I mean, think about it. A show coming out does fairly well, but is only talked about for like the first week it comes out, and then people move on. The show has no staying power. It's not going to keep relevant. It's not going to keep in the public eye. And then you take whoever knows how long to get any like kind of second season or stuff out. It's not going to do super well in the long run. But then you have a series, let's say, that releases episodes week to week and has episodes end off on cliffhangers. That keeps the retention rate up. That keeps people wanting to see more. And it keeps the discussions for that series continuing over time. And these continued discussions will allow more people to hear about it and create a larger audience. It is actively better for the shows, for the people making the shows, and for, the continued success of the series in the cases of like making money, in the cases of the show just doing well, its popularity and general success. So it's wild to me how like aggressively anti like how do I put this? Like how aggressively the binge model goes against the best like intentions. Or intentions is the wrong word. I'm having trouble coming up with the words right now. It goes against the best desires and hopes of any show that you could have. No show is going to do as well as it could on a binge model as it would on a weekly release model. This really isn't much of a debate. Weekly release will always get in bigger audiences overall. I can guarantee you any of these shows that are big on streaming would be that much bigger with weekly release. Stranger Things, Squid Game, etc., etc. All of these shows that do very well with the binge model would do leagues and leagues better with weekly release. Because it would allow for more people to hear about it. It would allow for better word of mouth. It would allow for better overall retention. People would be wanting to tune in a lot quicker and everything, a lot more consistently. It would just be overall better for the series. But because people are, impatient, the binge model was formed and it's like taken over all of streaming. And there are some shows that are released weekly still. Because like Dan to Dan is on Netflix. But it's still released weekly. And that's a rarity. And we're lucky for stuff like that existing. But unfortunately, there's just way too much that does focus on the other side of it. And it sucks. It really sucks. Because so many shows have been canceled, especially on like platforms like Netflix, because of the binge model. I guarantee you, if shows like Glitch Techs, what's it called? Dead End Paranormal Park, and all these other shows had weekly releases instead of binge releases, they wouldn't have been canceled because they would have done as well as Netflix wanted them to. They would have gotten the numbers and views that they were that Netflix expected of them, and so they wouldn't have been canceled. I'm like 100% sure of that. It is absolutely the binge model that fucks over so many of these shows. And it's just, it irritates the shit out of me. And so I'm happy for this ending on a cliffhanger. As much as it like maybe irritated me in the moment, it keeps that retention rate up. Dan to Dan is as excessively popular as it is, partially because of its great cliffhangers. It gets people wanting to see more and telling other people about it. It makes the retention rate phenomenally well handled. And so I'm really, really excited to see what continues to happen as we, continue along. I really like Okrune's confidence growing as the series goes along, too. Like, now that he's, like, discovered this upgrade to his power, you could say, he's showing a lot more confidence in protecting not only Momo, who, he was obviously scared about getting hurt back when Evil Eye attacked her, but he's also trying to protect Gigi and Evil Eye at the same time. Like, he's trying to abide by Gigi's wishes to save and protect Evil Eye and not get rid of him. But he's also trying to protect everyone from Evil Eye. Because he knows that Evil Eye is a threat. He's playing both sides, in a way. And to use his own word there, that's incredibly badass. Because so many times you have, like, in media or in real life, people telling you that you have to pick a side. People telling you that you can't be sympathetic and empathetic towards something while also wanting to see it taken down, we'll say. And that's always just a concept that I've considered to be absolute bullshit. You can understand and be sympathetic towards something while agreeing that it needs to go. There's a lot of people in the world who just see things in such a black and white fashion. And there are some things in the world that, should be seen in that way. But for the most part, things are more nuanced than that. For example, you can understand why a bad person does bad things sometimes. It doesn't make it right, and they still should, face repercussions for their actions. But you can understand and even sometimes empathize with them. Like, let's say a man is shoplifting, stealing food in order to feed his family. You obviously empathize with him wanting to feed his family, and even hate on the system for making him be put in this situation. But you also understand that, that's not really helping matters, and it's still not a good thing, the way he's handling this. Not that there's a lot of other choices out there, but that's where the nuance comes in. You can see both sides of it, and you can actually, side with both sides of that. You can acknowledge that this man and his family need help, but that he did something wrong and he should be punished for it to a degree. Now, I don't think shoplifting like that deserves punishment, being thrown in prison or anything like that, unless you're shoplifting a bunch of high electronics or stuff. But if you're just shoplifting food to feed your family, it's yeah, you maybe get fined or whatnot, but even then, it's you don't need that big of a punishment for that. You should get punished because you're still, stealing, but it should be a lighter punishment for something like that. Unfortunately, a lot of these stores would push for heavier punishments because, capitalism and corporate greed and shit. But not going to get into that entire argument and debate here today either. The point is, there are two sides to every story. And sometimes it's valid to look at both sides of the story before making an informed decision. Sometimes there really is only one side. You're not going to hear the other side to a Nazi story. No. They don't get a right to speak. I'm being completely serious about that, too. Fuck them. They've made their decision. Being a Nazi is one of the only unforgivable things you could do. In my eyes. It's just yeah, fuck that. And I believe anybody deserves a chance to better themselves and change. But, if you're willing to become a Nazi in the first place, there's clearly something wrong. And it means you clearly do not value human life. And yeah, a person can change, but there's so many issues with that. And it's you would really have to prove yourself really quickly and really strongly to get any kind of sympathy for me there. But that's such an extreme example. That's an extreme example, and most of the time it's not going to be like that. Most of the time it's yeah, there's two sides to it. When a soldier kills someone in combat, it's yeah, murder is bad. No matter how you look at it, there's no way to justify murder. But at the same time, while not justifying it, there is a reason for it. And with the military, it is most often, protecting the country and the people within it. There's exceptions to that, of course, but most of the time it is good intention. And so I'm very, very curious to see how this continues to go with how the characters are developing and how they're like growing and what they're learning to do here in regards to all of this kind of nuance and whatnot that they have. And I'm glad that this is being shown through Okarune's actions and thoughts towards Gigi. Because it's like, it's perfectly reasonable for him to be pissed off at and to hate Evil Eye. If for no other reason than just putting Momo in danger like that. But he's also, like, well thought out enough to acknowledge it's like, oh, Gigi sees something here that I don't. Gigi knows about this spirit's, like, history and feels really bad for it. And I like Gigi. Gigi is my friend. I am going to put my trust in him. Even if it's something I can't see. I'm going to put my trust in him. And I'm going to fight for him. And fight for his desires here. That's just amazing. There's no getting around that. That's just amazing. Okarune's phenomenal. He's such a great character. And I mean, all the characters in this are fantastic. Every single one. I even really like Manjiro. Because I can't even like complain about his entire reasoning for wanting to, you know, get this exorcism happening again. Like, he's genuinely trying to look out for everyone here, and he understands that he wants them to be able to handle this. He wants things to be able to work out, but he doesn't want them to get hurt, and he wants to make sure that everyone is safe. And Seiko even is going along with it for a bit because she's scared too. She doesn't want anything to happen to her granddaughter or to Okarune or Gigi. She likes them all. Ira too, I guess, but we haven't really seen much of her and Ira interact. We've seen a little bit, but not much. But the point is, it's like, we need to see more shows where the characters just have this much thought put into them. To where they're this nuanced and interesting. And there are shows like that out there. But we need more of them. Because this really feels like something special. And that's why I've been talking for so long about that kind of stuff specifically, rather than like just general events of this episode. The general events of this episode are fine, but it's more about the character's depth and growth and, you know, developments throughout this episode, their character traits and stuff. That's what really hit for me. That's what really mattered. And so that's what I wanted to talk about. It just really impressed me. Like, this series has been good from the get-go. But it just continues to prove itself over and over and over. And it has, like, you know, the wacky hijinks and ridiculousness and the pretty crazy shit that occurs. Some of it being uncomfortable. But it also has moments in episodes like this where it's just like, it just does something so fucking well that it just blows you away. And I hope we get just even more of that. Because it's like, we've had quite a bit of that this season. Like, Momo and Okarune holding hands in the car briefly. Also just their embrace after the events of the Mongolian deathworm and stuff. After all of that. You also had the Hayashi band performance, whether in the Japanese or the English. It was phenomenal. And it's just like, it was just so perfectly executed. It's like there's so much in this season alone that's just like really just working for me. And that's, again, that's outside of just, the cool action sequences or the great visual design choices, like what they did with the black and white here, except for Iris' hair, the designs on Okaroon, etc. The eye color of all the different spiritual figures. It's like, I love shit like that. But that's not what I loved about this episode. That's not like where this episode really shined for me. And so all I'm saying is that there's just so much to appreciate about this, whether you're watching for just the cool action and moments like that, or whether you're looking for the deeper stuff, like myself. And no matter how you choose to enjoy this, you're entirely valid either way. And there's something for everyone. I've talked. This is the last thing I'll touch on, but one thing I've always said about this series is that it is basically every genre at once. You have comedy, you have shonen action, you have romance, you have slice of life, you have music now. You have literally everything. It combines all of these different genres in order to tell a story the likes of which we really have not seen before, that can appeal to anyone. Not necessarily everyone, but anyone. And for different reasons. You know there's absolutely fans of this series who are just watching because of Momo and Okaroon's romance. And that's entirely valid because that's such a big part of the series. There are people who are watching because of the cool shonen action. Completely valid. It's an absolutely important part of the series. There are people who are watching for the nuance and depth of the characters. Completely valid. And so on and so forth. Some who watch it just because the comedic bits really make them laugh. Completely valid. No matter why you're watching this, or even if some combination of all of the above, it's completely valid to get this into the show for different reasons. I don't know if I've ever seen a show blend genres this perfectly before. I've seen shows have a couple genres here and there, but this many and this well handled is so shockingly good. And it just makes me love it more and more every episode that comes out. So, thank you as always for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts down below, and as always, no spoilers. For now, though, and especially no spoilers about that recent new trailer that came out for the remainder of season 2. Do not spoil me on that. I have not watched that. I will not watch that until maybe the season's over. Because I don't want spoilers. I do not want to know what's coming. And I consider a trailer spoilers. Because trailers very much spoil shit. But yeah, I don't want to know anything about that. So no spoilers, please. For now, though, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts down below once again. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.